What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and today I'm going to be going through my final pre-draft video. Going to be running through my top 36 Dynasty rookie rankings. Keep in mind, this is going to be Superflex, PPR, half-point tight end premium, and this is not going to be a super in-depth video on every single player. It's more so just looking through the general tiers, talking about how these positions, kind of coexist together. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe. Any questions, comments, feel free to drop them down below. Who do you think should be higher? Who do you think should be lower? But we're going to dive right into tier 1 here, and this is just going to be the 101 tier. It's Ashton Genty. He's going to get top 10 draft capital. He has the 3-down skill set. I think he is the clear-cut 101 in pretty much like every Dynasty rookie format. And then moving into tier 2 here, I have 4 guys in this tier. We're going to have Travis Hunter, Amarion Hampton, Cam Ward, and Travion Henderson. This is like the early round 1 tier. I've kind of just accepted that I'm going to be higher than consensus on Travis Hunter. I'm expecting him, like we've heard from the Browns organization, their GM, to be a wide receiver 1 first. And if I'm getting Travis Hunter as more of a wide receiver than I am a cornerback, I am a big time believer in the talent. So the situation isn't great, but I do think the talent is there. And when we're looking at like the guys who have the realistic ceiling to turn themselves into like round 1 Dynasty picks, I think it's Ashton Genty number 1. And then I think it's Travis Hunter in terms of like top 12 startup value. So he's going to be my 102. Then with Amarion Hampton, it does seem likely that he is going to be the running back 2 off the board. I don't think he's going to get some of like the crazy top 20 draft capital he was maybe looking at a couple of weeks ago. He's currently minus 270 to be picked over 19.5. So probably going somewhere in the 20s. But, still I think a 3-1 favorite to be the RB2. Overall solid prospect. With that type of draft capital, the workload's going to be there. After Hampton, I'm going to be going with Cam Ward here at the 104. I think you could argue Ward as high as the 102. I mean, he's going to be the first pick in the NFL draft. Typically, those guys are panning out at a pretty high level. And also, like a lot of these top quarterback picks in the NFL draft tend to maintain value, even if they don't have like these amazing rookie seasons. I think the only exception as of late is Bryce Young, and he had just like a pretty awful like rookie season. So like he dropped, but typically you don't have to go out there and smash it to still maintain your value in Dynasty. I think the questions are just like his realistic upside. Doesn't have a ton of rushing production. I don't think he's some sort of like top tier elite quarterback prospect. I always like to compare it to last year's class where it's like he would have been firmly behind Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. He's in that like, McCarthy, Knicks, Penix range, but then he's also just getting like a worse landing spot because this quarterback class is just so much weaker. And then I am wondering, like I talked about with some of the other, quarterbacks struggling early on, but still maintaining value. Caleb Williams, still very valuable in Dynasty. You've got guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, who didn't smash in year 1. They still held a lot of their value. I think a lot of those guys had way more hype coming in than Cam Ward. Like, I think it's kind of widely accepted that this is a poor quarterback class. People were really high on Trevor Lawrence, really high on Justin Fields, really high on Caleb Williams. And so I don't know if that's going to stick as much as it has in recent years, but, something I will throw out there. And then the last guy in this tier is Travion Henderson. I'm very high on Henderson, and I do think he has the chance to jump Hampton if he gets round 1 draft capital or if he just gets like an elite round 2 landing spot. I'm a Bears fan. I've been seeing him get mocked to the Bears in the 2nd round. I would love that both from a fantasy perspective and a real life perspective as, being a fan of the team. But I think like that would be fun. I do just think he's really talented. I like his receiving upside. I think he can get that like Jahmyr Gibbs type usage, Devon Achane type usage, where you're very involved as a pass catcher, you're hitting big plays, getting into the end zone. Like I think that's the type of role you'd be looking for. So that's going to wrap up my like tier 2 early round 1. Now the tier 3, like the mid round 1 guys, I have 3 players here. I have Tet McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, and Quinshon Judkins. I think we're going to start off here with back-to-back, just like really solid wide receiver prospects. They're very different players, but I have a lot of confidence in both of these guys. Expect Tet McMillan to go somewhere mid round 1. Egbuka like a late round 1, early round 2 in the real NFL draft, but I'd be willing to pick these guys pretty much anywhere in like the mid 1st of my rookie drafts. And then Quinshon Judkins, not a big Judkins guy, but he's probably going round 2. There are some fun landing spots. Like if he goes round 2 to the Broncos, I'd probably be moving him up just because like that would be an awesome landing spot. But in terms of the player, without knowing the landing spot, the draft capital yet, I'm probably going to be a little bit lower than consensus. And then moving into a pretty large tier 4, I'm going to start it off with the tight ends, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. This might seem low for Warren to some people. I know a lot of people have him like up in that next tier. Tight ends are just like really tough to trust for fantasy. And it's like you can have great prospects at the tight end position and they just don't pan out and have that elite upside. Like just think about all the best tight ends from the last like 10 years. None of them were round 1 picks for the most part, like Kelsey, Kittle, Gronk, Andrews, Ertz. I mean, in the same draft, the Ravens went with Hayden Hurst in the first round and passed on Mark Andrews and picked him up in the third. And Mark Andrews is like the infinitely more productive guy. So like you can just find these dudes in the later rounds. I don't think any of these two, any of the tight ends in this class are Brock Bowers. Like I think he's one of one. Kyle Pitts hasn't panned out. Kincaid got strong draft capital. He has not panned out. I think both these dudes are just kind of hoping to avoid the Colts landing spot. So a lot of that was negative. I still think they're good prospects. I think they certainly could pan out, but I see some people like ranking them super high, like potential top 5 rookie picks. And I just think the tight end position is really tough to trust. I think I just have more confidence in guys like Ted McMillan, like Buka panning out, even Quinshon Judkins, just based on his potential draft capital and like a decent landing spot. And then the rest of the tier 4 options, kind of a mixed bag here. I have Shedeur Sanders, Caleb Johnson, Luther Burden, Matthew Golden, and Jalen Milroe. For Shedeur Sanders, it does seem like his draft capital is slipping a little bit, but still going to be going round 1 to like some sort of quarterback needy team, whether that's the Saints, could be the Steelers, just a few of the spots out there. Maybe like the Browns somehow come back into the first round. Giants, we'll wait and see. Caleb Johnson, probably going somewhere day 2. Not huge on him, but I do think the NFL likes him. Could have decent draft capital. Luther Burden, just a super unique prospect. I do think he's somewhat landing spot dependent, where you want him to go to a competent organization that can use him in the right way. Matthew Golden, just a really flawed round 1 prospect from a statistical perspective. And then maybe the surprise in this tier, Jalen Milroe. Now, he is a very low floor prospect. I don't have like a ton of confidence in him coming in and being some sort of like super high level NFL quarterback. But when we're looking at his draft capital here, I'd be pretty surprised if he fell past 34. You have like this spot where the Browns pick at 33, the Giants pick at 44. Both of them are probably going to pass on quarterback in the first round. And I think Milroe is going to be in contention to go to either of those landing spots in the second. And even if he does have a low floor, I just don't think I can ignore the potential ceiling here with Jalen Milroe because his upside truly is elite. It's tough to like completely ignore like the Jalen Hurts round 2 upside here, where no one thought Jalen Hurts would be some sort of like great NFL quarterback, but he had the athletic ability where if he did hit and he got to start, he would deliver for fantasy. And Milroe has that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Hurts, but he's one of these guys where you're drafting him potentially in the second round, and he has the upside to be like a round 1 startup pick for Dynasty. And I also think he's someone where as soon as he gets on the field, even if he's not playing super well from a real-life NFL perspective, he is going to be giving you that rushing production, and you might have an out, even if you don't believe in the player. Like Anthony Richardson, the first 4 games of, 2023, where he had like 2 monster rushing games, and like it's not like he was playing at a super high level, his value still held, and you could have flipped him as like a top 24 Dynasty asset just because the rushing was there and he didn't even play at a high level. So I'm going to be in on Milroe here. I understand the bust rate is fairly high, but he can sit for a little bit. Once he steps on the field, like people are going to be high on him just because of the rushing. And if he can somehow play quarterback at the NFL level, like he's just going to be a smash pick here in like the early second round. Then this next tier is kind of like this fringe tier of like maybe they get bumped up, maybe they get bumped down. I have Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. Dart's probably looking at like late round 1, early round 2 capital, has some rushing upside. Tough to get overly excited about him. I think he could go to a spot where he has a chance to be the week 1 starter. I also think there are some landing spots where he could be like a developmental guy behind a, Matthew Stafford type. On the other side with Cam Scatterbo, just a super fun combination of size and receiving upside. The big question here is just the draft capital. Like as a player, just as a prospect, I prefer him over Caleb Johnson, but I just think Caleb Johnson has like way more locked in day 2 draft capital. Whereas for Cam Scataba, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Next up, we have tier 6, and this is a pretty large tier, but we're going to start off with 3 running backs: Bashal Tutin, DJ Giddens, Dylan Sampson. Ideally in this range, I'm kind of hammering the running backs that are, getting that day 2 draft capital. I think these guys are all in contention for it. I prefer Tutin and Giddens as prospects, but I think Sampson probably is the best shot to get that day 2 draft capital. This could turn into like a wide receiver with a great landing spot. I don't know, maybe a quarterback slips or something, but like you're probably choosing between some mix of running backs and wide receivers, and that's going to be determined by landing spot and draft capital. So the rest of this tier, a lot of wide receivers with a tight end and a quarterback. We have Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, Mason Taylor, Trey Harris, Alec Imanor, Tyler Shuck, and Jalen Royals. So I think draft capital and landing spot, going to play a big factor here for these wide receivers. I do like Jaden Higgins the most. I also think Jalen Knoll is interesting, someone who can produce out of the slot right away. One guy I do want to point to here in Mason Taylor, he is gaining a lot of steam right now. He's up to plus 150 to go in round 1 on DraftKings. I want to say like a couple of days ago, he was at like plus 400, plus 500. Daniel Jeremiah came out and said he thinks that he'll go like back end round 1. So he's getting a real push here. There are some fun landing spots that he could go to, and like going round 1, we're going to have to adjust. I think Tyler Shuck is going to get drafted a lot higher than most people think. I think he has a decent shot to go in like that early round 2 area where you're looking at the Browns, Giants, Saints kind of passing on early round quarterback if the Saints pass on Shedeur. And then I think he could be that guy where like maybe ownership wants them to take some sort of young quarterback and you just kind of see what you get, but you're not spending like, an early round pick on the dude. So I think he's going to be in the mix there. And then these wide receivers, Trey Harris, Imanor, they're going round 2, round 3. What's the landing spot looking like? Same thing for a Jalen Royals. And then this is going to be the start of my tier 7. This is just like the round 3 tier. Probably going to be a lot of change depending on draft capital and those landing spots. But I have Elijah Arroyo, RJ Harvey, Damian Martinez, Ali Gordon, and then Harold Fannin. Arroyo seems to be getting a decent amount of hype, probably going somewhere in round 2. Him not having athletic testing does scare me just because we know athleticism is so important at the tight end position. But the draft capital could be there, some fun landing spots out there. Then these are like my kind of favorite potential day 3 running backs in RJ Harvey, Damian Martinez, Ali Gordon. You're just hoping they're going to spots where they could compete for a starting opportunity and aren't going to be pinned behind, a clear running back 1 like a Will Shipley last year. And then for Harold Fannin, he's such a tough guy to rank. Like I want him to be good so badly. He was just an absolute monster last season, played in 13 games, caught 117 passes for over 1,550 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, also added 65 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And it's not like he beat up on consistent bad competition. Like it's not like he was playing the best teams, but when he went up against Penn State, Texas A&M, he dropped 11 for 137 and a touchdown, and then 8 for 145 and a touchdown. The issue is just that his like 7.57 relative athletic score is not great. Also someone who's probably not going to play in line. And it's just kind of been a tough stretch for these tight ends that like ideally play out of the slot. Kyle Pitts, right? Now he's getting matched up with cornerbacks and he just doesn't have a ton of an advantage. Dalton Kincaid, someone who I think like used for his best case would be used out of the slot, but you have to ask like, would you rather have Dalton Kincaid there or a guy like Khalil Shakir? The Bills made their choice and it is Khalil Shakir. So he just doesn't have like a skill set that's super translatable. You're hoping he goes to a team that like really has a plan for him. So I'm hoping it works out, but we have to acknowledge some of the downsides here. And then the rest of tier 7, Isaiah Bond, Jack Besh, Devin Neal, and Brashard Smith. I think Bond and Besh are both like day 2 wide receivers. Like I continue saying for these guys, landing spot, draft capital. And then Devin Neal, Brashard Smith, just kind of like these day 3 running back darts. But that is going to wrap it up for my top 36. Obviously, more things seem locked in at the top. We have a better idea of like potential landing spots, draft capital. Once we're getting into like the tier 6, tier 7 area, I do think there is going to be a lot of shifting. But thank you all for stopping by. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.